everyone hear me okay? My name is David Krahling. I'm one of your city council members. Learned a lot of important lessons over the past week. As I've reflected on the process of this project, there are a number of things that we all wish could have come across differently. While we've hosted several meetings to take input from the public and have instructed our city staff to work with engineers to find workable solutions, to many of those suggestions, we did clearly not include the community in meaningful dialogue of alternatives and other things we've considered over the past years. And that, unfortunately, has left many of you with little choice but to speak out against this project. What we missed was the opportunity to clearly identify all of the issues and talk openly about the various views and formulate a plan that would speak to all of the different stakeholders in our community. From the very beginning, I've considered this project from the standpoint of several stakeholders: residential property owners, retailers, pedestrians, and a category I call community growth. Often these groups have very, very different priorities and very different ideals, and they are often in conflict with each other. Most retailers, given adequate and convenient parking, would prefer more traffic. More traffic means more potential customers. Less traffic means less customers. But for residential property owners, they already endure lots of inconveniences from traffic, and they have legitimate concerns about losing any more of their front yard or trees. For them, less traffic would be a blessing. If this project were only about one issue, the decisions would be easy. This was also complicated by a very complex design process, and it seems painstakingly long. Changes and options that we want to consider need to pass through a chain of command from our engineers to the regional DOT office and then to the state DOT office. And that has been a challenge to this project. And in our desire to seek input early, we often didn't have the answers that you wanted, and that made this project very difficult. I had a number of wonderful conversations. We all have. I had wonderful conversations with lots of people who stand on both sides of this issue. And I want to thank each and every one of you who picked up the telephone, who came to a public meeting, who approached me on the street or sent me an email or a letter. In almost every case, I learned things, I deepened our mutual understanding, and we fostered mutual respect. Unfortunately, there has been another side to this process, and that is very concerning to us as a city council. Whatever we did to cause among us to feel so disenfranchised or ignored that you would choose to turn this issue into the emotional and irrational grandstanding that it has become is troubling and concerning to us. We can certainly disagree on what is best for the city. That leads to healthy dialogue. What I will not accept is the suggestion that I or my fellow council members do not value human life, or that we are selfishly motivated, or that we don't have the best interests of this community foremost in our minds. That is simply not true. This evening may turn out quite differently than what most of us anticipated. As a city council, we're tabling the issue of the 5-lane project. That means, for the foreseeable future, it is no longer part of our planning. That news will delight some of you. It will disappoint many others. In the council's opinion, this issue has become so emotionally charged that it's difficult to deal with it in any sort of rational way. One of the essential parts of good decision-making for this body is to have rational dialogue, and we have clearly failed in our attempt to achieve that. We do expect at some point in the future it will be necessary to discuss the Highway 75 corridor. When we do, you can be assured that that process will be very different from what we experienced over the last 6 months. We're not sure exactly what that process will look like, but we're asking for your patience and for your help. We need people who are willing to engage in thoughtful and rational dialogue. It's very easy to sit back and complain about things and find faults with other people's efforts. It will be a lot more challenging to step up and be a part of the solution. I hope that there are those among you who will be just as anxious to help us find a good solution to this issue as we move forward in community. While the number of accidents on any traveled roadway can certainly be impacted by design and by the volume of traffic which flows on that roadway, highway design is not the primary cause of accidents. Accidents, especially the type of accidents which have been so vividly predicted as inevitable should this 5-lane come to pass, are almost never caused by a single failure, nor are they caused by bad highway design. Catastrophes of that sort happen because of a series of failures. A failure of a driver to yield properly or to momentarily lose concentration, or by the failure of a pedestrian to recognize or respond to a hazard. Sometimes, whether we have a tragedy or a near miss is a matter of less than a second. As we continue to use Highway 75 in its current configuration, I beg you not to let your guard down. It would be dangerous and the ultimate in faulty logic to presume that because we have not had a tragedy with our 3-lane configuration, that it is inherently safe. As a driving public, we are all responsible for keeping that road safe, for other drivers and for the pedestrians who cross it. We will continue to look for ways to make it safer, but the best road design in the world, regardless of the number of lanes, will never overcome careless driving and the failures that lead to tragedy. That, ladies and gentlemen, is up to all of us. With that said, I would like to publicly acknowledge our city staff for doing what the council has asked of them. They do their job of caring for this community under the direction of the council, and they, like the rest of us, truly care for our community. I would also like to acknowledge publicly the spouses of the city council for enduring these last few weeks with us.
Thank you, Dave.